I'd like to play a pregnant woman.
Yeah,
I would like to play a detective, a cop. Everything that a cis person gets to do. Listen, men have played trans women for so long. I have met so many people from the community who've been thrown out of their houses, right? That's the reality. The people that brought you into this world, the mothers, the biological mothers who gave birth to you, who were supposed to nurture, did not nurture. When a woman is infertile, she's lesser than. If she adopts, she's lesser than. Why? Being a sperm donor or an egg donor or to carry a pregnancy alone does not make you a parent. Queer people know that better than anyone else because we know what it's like to receive violence from our biological families. People in the same room are being taught that you are the same as someone that practices bestiality or necrophilia.
Yeah.
You know, bestiality is literally sexual attraction to animals, and you're saying that a queer person is the same as that. Unfortunately, even in 2024, we live in a society where you don't know if you'll come back home safe. The Malayalam film industry, where Parvati and many others have been working so hard to make sure that there is safety for women.
Hi, Trinetra. Welcome to the Quint.
Thank you so much.
Now that you're in Bombay, so let's start with that.
Okay.
How has Bombay been to you? It's been a year since you moved here.
Yes, it has.
Has it treated you as well as you thought it would?
Yes and no. I think Bombay is that one city that doesn't treat anybody uniformly.
Yeah.
Right? There's days where you just feel like the world is crumbling and everything is over, and then there's days where you feel like this high couldn't happen in any other city.
Did you ever think I'd move to a city like Bombay and become an actor? It was acting something you always wanted to do?
In a way, yeah. Because as a child, I think even though we didn't have queer characters, we had queer icons.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So
Such huge ones.
Yeah. So Madhuri ji for me was my queer icon. Right? I remember I was I think 10 when Aja Nachli came out. I was obsessed. I think there's something about looking at a woman with a lot of grace and femininity that I aspire to. And I found my femininity in that, So I think came this way of channeling femininity. So it wasn't so much about acting, it was about finding myself. Because real life didn't allow for that. There came a certain point where I knew it wasn't going to happen. Anything in the arts because I was this hardcore, nerdy science student. And it was like, I had to be this topper kid, and like that was the drive I had as far as science was concerned. Plus, it is what Indian families also thoda, give you that nudge, wink,
यही करना है, यही सही है.
You can be whatever you want, but this would be better. But I enjoyed it. I loved it. I loved medicine. By the time I realized who I was, it was a little late, so to speak, even though I transitioned very early in life. And auditions started coming my way. It was mind-blowing to me. I was like, this is also possible? I didn't even know. And then Made in Heaven, the audition happened, which I cracked, thankfully.
Yeah, we're happy you cracked it.
And that was the first time I came to Bombay to audition for the part. So it was very quintessential Bollywood dream types.
So how did that audition come your way?
Randomly. I think I'd done a couple of things for Netflix on their YouTube channel. The casting directors found me off of that. So it was just a random phone call. They were like, send a self-test. I was like, yeah, cool. What's the worst thing that'll happen? And my friends and I sat across from my dinner table. It was lockdown time, so everyone was doing this at home also. 3 o'clock in the morning before a shift, and we just chumma shot it and sent it across. And then they came back with some feedback, and the next thing I knew, I was sitting in Bombay and doing this in person.
How lovely is that? We are going to talk a lot more about that. But before we do, I want to go back to just what you said. You said, it was art that kind of helped me find and, connect because the real world didn't allow me to. I think it's so beautifully put because every time I talk to people about films and art having an influence on the society, on people, they're like, oh, but you cannot rely on art to just do that. But look at this, right? What you just said.
Oh my God. I don't think people realize this enough, right? I think it was lockdown that taught everybody when we were working from home or on the front line or whatever. It was art that saved all of us in some way. Life can be very hard. So entertainment becomes this way of I don't know, stepping out of that life into something that is more aspirational.
I remember coming across this interview of yours where you had said that, a man couldn't have been a heroine, right? When you were younger. If I could take you back to that kid, looking back at your journey, what has this been like from you? Everything you've achieved, all your dreams, everything you wanted to do, I think you can with pride say that I've done it.
I've done everything I'd wanted to do, but even though there is peace with that, I want to do so much more.
Yes, of course.
People think that you as a trans person can only do one thing as an actor. That's just disheartening to me. Because I feel like we as trans people are not one kind of person. We're very diverse as people as well. And there's different kinds of queer and trans people, just like there's different kinds of cishet people.
Absolutely.
Right? So I would really like to explore the full extent of what I'm capable of over time. But again, it's a time thing. You can't do all of that on day one. As a child, in my wildest dreams, it wasn't possible to look in the mirror and see something that looked like myself. Acting is bahut dur ki baat hai. It wasn't even part of the plan, but I think you get so used to living in a society that teaches you that you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't achieve this. So it becomes newsworthy when a trans person becomes a doctor. It's unfortunate, but it's true. That someone from the community does something so basic that cishet people do every day, and it's newsworthy because that's how far behind we are.
Do you somewhere feel, I'm not saying the finish line. I know, like you said, there's so much more to do, and the finish line is really far because we have such a long way to go. Everything that you're doing is bringing you a step closer to realizing 100%. All your dreams as a kid.
There is a part of you in this city for anyone that needs to be delusional. You have to be very delulu to get through many days. But you also need to be practical. The way I see the practical side of things is it's a slow time in entertainment, at least this year has been for a lot of people. So many projects are shelved, so many projects are sort of in the pipeline, and for cis actors in general, it's been a slow time. So trans actors, it's even slower. When I got into the industry, I knew that opportunity would not be the same as everyone else.
Sure.
Even after a project as large as Made in Heaven, I would have to be patient for the next big thing to come along. Touch wood, that happened quite soon after, but still, representation is just starting out. We're taking our first few baby steps and making that happen, I got into this knowing that I would have to be very patient and work on myself, my craft, and network, and then the next thing will happen at some point. Someday, I'd like to play a pregnant woman. I would like to play a detective, a cop. Everything that a cis person gets to do. Listen, men have played trans women for so long.
I was going to say just that.
Filmmakers or entertainment has taken the liberty to have men play us forever because there is this image of what a trans person looks like. That is possible. Why can't I do it?
This is a question even before Made in Heaven came out and we saw you and, you got so much love for it. Even before that, this was a conversation I've had with so many actors and directors talking about representation on screen. Now, what Made in Heaven has done is what we need to do going forward. Asking actors like, don't you think this is true representation, right? The response would usually be like, it's not that we're averse, right? But the point is the person also needs to be an actor. Do you agree with that, or...
I think so. So the thing is, in an ideal world, anyone should be able to play anything. And as an actor, you should be able to play anything, right? And it's true that there's very few actors from the trans community, but I would say that in 2024, that's not as true as it was 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
Or 10 years ago. 10 years ago, if you said, oh, we can't find talent, I would understand. Today, that's not an excuse. Today, there's enough and more people. There's Ivanka, there's so many actors, from the community. There's Sushant. And we're all such different shades of trans also, right? So you can't say ki, oh, ek hi type hai, can't fit into XYZ role. There's enough of us. And we're also all working on our craft to be able to play diverse characters. So if you can sit and train a cis actor for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever, and pick up someone as a result of which family they were born in, regardless of talent.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry, but that's not an excuse when it comes to trans people. I think it's finally gotten to a point where the number of excuses to not cast trans people, it's decreasing.
Yes, you are right.
And that makes me very happy. I think over time, as we work on our skills and our craft, and there's so many of us, this will not even be a question anymore.
It should not be a question. The reason it's a question is because we need things to change. We need to talk about it for now and say,
100%.
make this shift.
Yeah.
So I really hope a lot more people get the opportunity to explore what they've been wanting to. So I'm going to go back to Made in Heaven and ask you, what made you say yes to Made in Heaven?
I think it was the first time that an audition actually worked out. So it wasn't about saying yes. It was about being like, I am going to absolutely do this because it's a dream come true. You know, because you don't grow up seeing yourself on any kind of screen, not on phone screens, TV screens, movie screens. You just don't see trans people anywhere. You only see trans people on the street. And that's just fact. The thing is, when you see yourself in that way growing up, you don't want to aspire to that. You know, I have such respect for trans women, my sisters on the street, because it's a very, very hard life. But no child looks at that and thinks, I will have a safe future, a secure future. So that sense of security and safety only happens when you see a version of yourself somewhere thriving. Right? That for me was Ghazal on Satyamev Jayate. It showed me that, okay, a life where you can achieve things is possible.
You need that one light, right? One person sometimes.
Every single one of us that dares to be ourselves in some way becomes that light for other people. You know, and that's why I had to share things on social media. I had to make this very public, right from the first step in transition to the most recent. I have never hidden anything. I don't believe in... You think people are stupid? You think you do something to your face or your body and people will not be able to tell? Audiences are very smart and you need to respect the intelligence of your audience. People see right through all of the PR nonsense. You know, I always believed in never setting unrealistic standards for anybody because I know that 70-80% of my audience is women to this day. And very young women. And I can't be that person who makes somebody feel small by misleading them.
Putting your life out there, you know, something so private, because it's something that is not easy. One, you're also going through your own internal battle to kind of put all of that out there on social media. You know, what is that like? To be able to think, is this okay to put? What kind of comments will I get? Because it's not the nicest place also.
It's not. And I think now it's safer. In the sense there's, you know, privacy settings and hidden words, and there's many things you can do to make yourself more secure on social media. But when I started out, I was 16, 17, and at that time, there was no such, you know, concept of safety. People could say anything that they wanted to. Hate, of course, comes to this day, but it's a lot more love than it is hate, which I'm very happy to say. I think that's not the case with everybody. Every day there are children who get bullied so much, they take their own lives. It happens. For me, it wasn't a choice, you know. It wasn't me saying, oh, I will be some sort of role model, whatever. To me, this was just trying to process my life in a way that I couldn't do outside of social media. Because I didn't know what a therapist was. I couldn't access that. I didn't really have friends in school either. So talking about it online was community building for me. It's where I met people like myself. Much later did I realize that, oh, okay, this is more than just me. There's actual impact to this kind of work. To think that that led me to becoming some sort of an image that I would want to see on a screen with entertainment, it blows my mind to this day. But again, I think so much of that is also being at the right place at the right time, and
but it's also hard work.
Of course it is.
It's a lot
of
of
course
hard
it is.
work.
It's back-breaking hard work and endless crying. But that's the case with any job. You know, any job is hard. Unfortunately, this is one of those jobs where you could be extremely hardworking, you could be very skilled, but you just may be unlucky. And that is also a reality I told myself. I was like, you know, if this doesn't work out long term, I have a medical degree.
Yeah, you do.
Which is not the worst backup plan to have. I will always be Dr. Trinetra, but touch wood, things have been good.
They'll always be good. I'm quite certain of it.
I think so too.
Yeah, it's just wood, no?
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, better to do this.
I think it's a personal choice. Everyone has to make a call for themselves as to how much do I share.
Yeah.
It's changed for me big time. I used to share a lot more. A lot of my personal life, my love life, a lot of that. Over time, I've discovered healthy boundaries for myself, and I've understood, okay, you know what, in order to keep myself safe, I need to have some boundaries. But there are some non-negotiables. I will never in my transition take a step that will not be public, because I remember being young and looking at people like you, not just cis actors, but many trans people in the West also, just wondering how did they get here, and that feeling so inaccessible. And unfortunately, entertainment thrives on inaccessibility. It thrives on opacity, of creating this sense of envy that you could be completely broke, but you'll have to look like you're stepping out of a BMW every single day.
So tough.
Which is bizarre,
yeah.
And that's the image that a lot of people feel so drained to maintain. And thank God for medicine, honestly. I thank that profession every single day, because when you go to a hospital and you see death and disease, and you're sitting and cleaning up bodily fluids, it grounds you in a way that will never leave you. So you see right through all of the crap. I'm very, very grateful that I spent those years.
Yeah.
I never see it as a waste, ever.
Just what you said right now, right? It also kind of made you the person you are, right? It probably is the base of a lot of the way you think, the way you talk, the way you put yourself out there. So, finally deciding to make this switch, how was that for you? Wasn't it really, because you clearly love it?
Yeah.
But wasn't that really like disheartening also somewhere?
When you've made a switch as large as your gender,
Yeah,
I think every other switch feels a little not as hard in comparison. But I think it wasn't something that happened overnight as well, na? So it's a decision I sort of thought about for years. And eventually traveling back and forth, it just wasn't feasible.
Yeah.
So it became a logistic thing more than like this huge moral life. Was it difficult to step away from the stability of medicine? Yeah, it was. Because, you get into it knowing that this is for life, and it offers a sense of respect and stability and purpose when you wake up every single day. But as an actor, that's not what life looks like. You don't wake up at 6 a.m. 7 days a week thinking I will save a life today. But at the same time, I have also seen how, when kids reach out from the community, parents reach out, and they say that this did save my kid's life on some level, it doesn't feel that different from being in the hospital. This whole idea that you can only contribute to society in engineering or doctor ways is not true. You can contribute to people's lives very meaningfully in many ways.
And I think you're doing that with every instances and moments in your life that kind of define you, mold you into adulthood, because we are products of our experiences, right? Is that moment or an instant that you think really defines you and who you are today?
One definitely was waking up from my sex reassignment surgery, because I never thought I could feel that comfortable with my body in my life.
How nice.
And you don't realize how much of a burden you're carrying in your life until it's taken off. And I remember waking up from surgery and just feeling like, okay, so basically this is what I should have been born as. And feeling that sense of peace and congruence it feels like giving birth to yourself. And, there is pain and there is this dramatic life event, and then you look at yourself and you realize this is me. And that was a very defining moment in my life. Another really defining moment was just becoming a doctor. Being called 1,000 names your entire life, You get so used to being called gaalis that it's such a...
awful.
Yeah, in school and in college, I've gotten thrown out of classes for dressing the way I wanted, even if it was a small piercing and things like that, where I wasn't allowed to attend classes unless I took it off in a medical school, imagine. sort of calling you names, even like professors calling you names.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. But yeah, so the thing is, we think that doctors are this, incredibly noble group of people, and we are. And, it's also unfortunate that there is such violence against doctors as we've been seeing. But there are internal issues in the community also, which I've always spoken about, because I've been on the receiving end of them. See that bullying come your way from this community can be hard. Then become Dr. Trinetra felt very empowering, which is why I had to finish that degree. I couldn't just walk away from it because I put my life's work into it. My parents had put their life's work into it. Another really beautiful aspect of my life is my relationship with my mom. Mom and I didn't talk for many years properly after I came out because she didn't get it. Dad didn't get it either. When people see the final happy image, they don't realize what's gone into making that happen. But to now see her share like 30-year-old saris with me.
Oh, nice.
And to be like, this is now yours and this is your inheritance. That feels incredible because you don't grow up thinking that you will inherit what women inherit.
Yeah.
Right? In the form of love, in the form of these little things. Money is a faraway thing. I'm not even talking about that. Not that we had much of it growing up. That bond is very special to me. So every time she gifts me a sari and we wear saris together, and it's like this whole ritual that we have. I love that.
I feel you as you're saying those words, but I can't imagine the happiness that must be bringing you. Really, I just can't imagine. Spoke about being called names in college.
Yeah.
Which is so awful, by the way. And I'm really sorry that you had to go through that. But being at that age, how do you fight it? You're already, I think, battling so many more things.
You don't fight it. I couldn't.
Fight it.
I couldn't. And especially when you're a child, when you're 3-4 years old and you're being subjected to abuse, harassment, whatever, a child doesn't have the tools to fight. Yeah. Because a child only knows that, okay, if everyone is seeing me a certain way and treating me a certain way, then something must be wrong with me.
It becomes their reality.
Yeah. And you internalize all of that, and then that stays with you. This day, there are instances where I have to remind myself that it's not something that lacks in me, right? Like somebody is treating you like crap because this is on them. This is their problem. This is not a me problem. And it takes a lifetime of work to undo that damage. Yeah, I think people really take it lightly what they treat kids like. Yeah. You can't do that.
That's why I really believe a kid grows up to be what you tell them they are. If you're going to keep telling them why you're so stubborn, trust me, they're going to show you exactly that.
As girls, or even as feminine people growing up, you're taught to see your femininity as weak. And I always believed that being feminine was weak. But thank God for the women in my life who really taught me how strong it is to be feminine. Looking down upon femininity is what stops you from embracing who you are. When I finally let go of, I need to be tough and macho, because I couldn't do it. That wasn't me.
You're fighting against who you feel you are.
And I tried so hard to be that tough kid. I couldn't. And then I realized my toughness was in being who I am. And being a woman and being feminine, those are very tough things. There is nothing tougher than a woman on this planet. The strongest people I know are all women, or queer people.
Me too.
Right? I think people overcompensate for that weakness in many ways. And aggression and toxicity is very often a compensation for just you not being secure.
And feeling not enough.
And feeling not enough. And I think women are so special because, we don't have that aggression and masculinity to compensate or overcompensate. So we actually sit and deal with our emotions and get through it. Toxicity hai in every gender.
वो तो है, हाँ.
Because I think...
Human है at the end of the day, ना, जो भी है.
Correct. Enough and more people from every community, including my own, with bucketfuls of toxicity. So... no, it's not a gender-specific thing. It's just that I feel, are better equipped, unfortunately, as a result of the way we're raised.
Conditioning we are brought up with, right? Like, if there's something wrong, a woman will deal with it when it comes to emotions, love, nurturing.
Yeah.
The men have always been told you're caregivers, like you're providers, and women are nurturers. So we're brought up with that.
This whole concept of providing and nurturing is So bizarre. I have met so many people from the community who've been thrown out of their houses, right? That's the reality. The people that brought you into this world, the mothers, the biological mothers who gave birth to you, who were supposed to nurture, did not nurture, but they're still called mothers. And yet, when one of us becomes a mother, that's not woman enough, that's not mother enough. When a woman is infertile, she's lesser than. If she adopts, she's lesser than. Why? Being a sperm donor or an egg donor or to carry a pregnancy alone does not make you a parent. Queer people know that better than anyone else because we know what it's like to receive violence from our biological families. Yeah. But look at what it makes us. I'm constantly saying this, that, we glorify the trauma that people go through. You look at someone that's been through a lot and you say, wow, you're so tough, you're so strong. And it's true, but I think it's also important that we look at tough and strong people, regardless of gender, and hold space for them to be soft and vulnerable also.
To unlearn that you don't have to be strong all the time, I find it very challenging. Long journey to here, but here you are.
Major. Thank you.
Wow, it feels like a big win.
It does. It does.
Okay, I'm going to move a little away from this and talk to you about recently the National Medical Commission has stirred up quite a debate because they've reinstated terms like lesbianism and sodomy in the forensic curriculum for undergraduates. In 2022, the Madras High Court had also said that, they had eliminated terms like virginity, hymen, defloration because it was aiming to remove discriminatory words like these, right? You are in the profession, you are a doctor yourself. How do you, view this, and what do you think they should be doing about this?
It was very disheartening. I woke up to the news and I just thought everything that we've worked so hard to undo has been in vain. Because when the Madras High Court reached out to a bunch of activists and people from the community, including myself, we wrote out extensive reports. We tried to educate the court. The court was very gracious in sending out directives to the National Medical Commission saying, please remove, please treat conversion therapy as professional misconduct. Remove offensive terms, make it more inclusive. And the National Medical Commission set up a committee even to look into it. After all of that to happen and then to reinstate the same queerphobia and the same misogyny with the two-finger test and the whole concept around virginity, it was bizarre. So happy for doctors like Dr. Satendra and other activists who jumped on it and fought it immediately. Satendra, he's been working on disability rights and competencies for so long. Dr. Aksa, who's also a trans woman and doctor, and she works in community medicine. So all of these incredible people jumped on it immediately. So I'm pretty sure it will not go up officially as the final syllabus. And I hope it doesn't happen. I remember when I was in my second year many years ago, almost 6 years ago, I had to parrot the same nonsense in my vivas and in my exams. I had to write literally that I was a criminal and I was a pervert and who I was a sexual offense in some way. Because, it's bizarre to think that you and 250 people in the same room are being taught that you are the same as someone that practices bestiality or necrophilia. Bestiality is literally sexual attraction to animals, and you're saying that a queer person is the same as that. Pedophiles are being compared to queer people. What are you doing as doctors? It's very, very unfortunate that so much regressive Victorian era nonsense continues to be peddled as science and medicine to this day. It just goes on to show that so much of what we believe is science today was written by human beings at the end of the day. So some amount of prejudice has seeped into that.
Recently, of course, what happened in Kolkata, the Arjika incident, is just so disheartening. And I know everyone's standing up and trying to, bring justice to the girl. You've been a part of the industry. You are a doctor even today. What are some things that you think the industry as a whole could do to ensure that marginalized communities have a safe space when they go out to work and not feel like, will I come back home?
I think this goes a little beyond any industry. It's beyond medicine, it's beyond entertainment. This is a society issue where we believe that women's bodies are up for sale and can be used. Unfortunately, even in 2024, we live in a society where you don't know if you'll come back home safe. And to see this happen in the medical community is even more disheartening, because it could have been any one of us.
Absolutely.
I remember, of course, I was very lucky to have a lot of facilities and safety, but there were days when a patient would react a certain way that was extremely inappropriate, or a senior, or someone who just misused their power to exert dominance in some way. And that happens on a daily basis. Women are really not safe in any profession, if you really think about it. I'm really proud of friends in, say, the Malayalam film industry, where Parvati
yes.
and many others have been working so hard to make sure that there is safety for women. And they've worked so hard and fought such a system of patriarchy in that world. It should happen across industries for sure, because
But do you
that's
think
important.
there are some policies that could be put in place to have the marginalized community in the medical industry safer?
Oh,
feel
so
safer?
much, so much. I think, first of all, as far as even beyond gender, right? I feel like violence against doctors is so common today.
It's horrible.
That anyone can walk into an ICU and beat you up.
I see these videos surface so often now.
Yeah. And those are like such a small part of what goes on a daily basis, right? So I think punishments need to be put in place for violence against doctors. Greater protections within hospitals to keep us safe, especially in more rural settings, because that's where things can become a little more out of control. In a corporate hospital in a large city, it's unlikely to happen. It does happen, but it's unlikely. As far as marginalized communities are concerned, it's important that you have anti-discrimination policy. It's important that you hire people in positions of authorities belonging to those communities. There's a lot that needs to be done, and this is just scratching the surface, really.
I really do hope it changes because, like you said, it's not an industry problem, it's really a society. We're going to move to one last question towards a little lighter note. Do you have a wish list of actors that you want to be seen on screen with?
Actors, filmmakers, directors, I have a massive wish list. But right now, I really want to work with Konkona and Tilotama and Shefali Shah. I feel like these three women are such powerhouses of talent that I've looked up to forever. Oh my God.
You put a post about love being inherently political.
Yeah.
Right? Today, as you sit here, how do you think your idea of love has evolved over the years?
Oh my God, it's such a complicated question. I think as far as love is concerned, I thank God every day that I'm queer, because it taught me what love means in a very different way. It taught me that family and love does not necessarily have to mean people you're related to by birth. You grow up to realize that chosen family and the love that you get from chosen family is as important. It taught me that love is not a hierarchy, that romance and romantic love sits here and everything else sits below. That's just not true. It taught me to really value platonic love. And as far as romance and love is concerned, let's just not even go there. Being queer taught me a lot about romantic love as well, because I grew up seeing my queer romantic love as really dirty and really illegal. And I had a very negative association with that. Over time, it allowed me to see love as this incredibly powerful tool that heals you, and I see it as the only thing that sustains life and revolutions and everything, really. And as far as my love life is concerned, I'm just...
I think it's the best to keep it like this, really.
This is the part where we were talking about boundaries, remember?
Yes.
I realized this one boundary is really essential to protect my partner from this world in every way possible. So
Thank you so much for talking to me.
Thank you.
Yes,
This was
really
lovely.
hoping that you always have a safe space for yourself.
Thank you.
And really go on to do all the fabulous things you want to in the world.
I felt really safe the entire time, and your questions were really, really sensitive. So thank you for that.
It really means a lot, Trinetra.
I'm going to come give you a hug.
I also am going to do exactly that.
Because I'm such a hugger in life.
Thank you